Welcome back to Dark Movies with Friends, a podcast where we dive into all things spooky with a heavy focus on found footage horror. I'm your host, Scott. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, it's me, Scott. I don't know where or when you're watching or listening. However, it is almost summer here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That doesn't necessarily mean too much because I woke up today, it was like 38 degrees. So, summer in Pennsylvania doesn't always mean warm. So, kind of funny how that goes. I'm excited every episode, but this one's special to me because the main focus of the episode is going to be the Poughkeepsie Tapes. We will break it down. I'm going to bring my friend Zach back on because he enjoyed this one, so this will be fun to talk to him about how he felt about Poughkeepsie Tapes. It's definitely in my top 5 found footage horror movies, so this will be not biased at all. It'll be very objective, you know. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm going to rant and rave about this movie that had mixed reviews at first, but ultimately has become kind of like a staple in the found footage community. So first things first, I want to get into what I watched this week or this in between episode time. So there were, if you include Poughkeepsie Tapes, 4 movies that I watched this week. So let's get into what I watched. Movie number 1. The first movie I watched was Look, L-O-O-K, the word Look. It is a 2007 found footage film written and directed by Adam Riflin. I loved it. It was very intelligent. It was very unique. It uses all sorts of camera angles, security cams, setup cams, and kind of intertwined stories together. So that could be an episode later in the future of a breakdown, but I definitely love that one. Movie number 2. Movie number 2 is the Cohassett Snuff film, 2012, written by Edward Payson and directed by Edward Payson, also written by Darnell J. Taylor. I watched this on the Found TV app. I don't think I said where I watched Look. I think I watched Look on YouTube or Prime, Amazon Prime. I'll have to double check, but it was in several places. But Cohassett Snuff film, I definitely watched that on Found TV. It was a good one as well. Movie number 3. I really, really enjoyed this one because this one helped put me to sleep. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a comforting way. And movie lovers, hopefully you understand what I'm getting at with that. Movie number 3 was Sleepless Unrest, The Real Conjuring House, 2021, written and directed by Kendall Welpton and Vera Welpton. It was a couple. And I believe it's presented as a real documentary, but I definitely would consider it just in the paranormal investigation, slow burn, mockumentary, documentary, whatever you want to call it. I call it a good movie. How about that? And that brings me to... Dun, 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 dun. I guess I can use the sound effect again. Here you go. That sound effect's fun, by the way. Let's not like deny the fact that that's a really fun thing to add to the episode instead of just me going ba 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 or whatever sound I want to do to make transitions. It's fun to add in a little fun audio. The movie we're going to break down this week, the Poughkeepsie Tapes, directed by Erick Dowdle, released in 2007 or 2009 or 2014. We'll get into why I have several dates, but it was originally made in 2007. So we'll get into all that. I watched it on Amazon Prime and Tubi, but it's also on Shudder. I believe it's in some versions of it you can find on YouTube. It's all over the place. Poughkeepsie Tapes, like I said, is a staple in the found footage community. So when that happens, typically you can find it in a lot of places. General synopsis before I bring Zach on. New York homicide investigators find hundreds, if not thousands, of tapes of torture, murder, manipulation, horrible, horrific things from a serial killer over the course of decades. That's it for the synopsis. I hope you enjoy my talk with Zach. We'll break down the movie and discuss what's been going on with him and maybe some films he's watched. I'd love to get to a point where by the end of any given episode, there's 5 to 10 movies that you may or may not have ever heard of, along with one or two, in this case one, breakdown, a longer breakdown of one, along with you getting to know me and a couple of my friends. That's kind of the point, and that's kind of exciting to share that with you. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll be back at the end to break things down. Later. Hey everybody, I'm here back with Zach. He was popular demand. The crowd, literally, I didn't even know that the show was this popular, but crowds were forming around my house with what are these last few episodes? Where's Zach? And did you guys find Joe Pesci? That was the the big.
They're like, you had Zach on? That son of a bitch owes me money.
That's really what it came down to in the local Pittsburgh area. There's apparently he's been scheming people with his deals and doodads. So Zach, I've talked to you the whole month, but it's been about a month. What, anything new on your end in life?
No, I got some shows coming up. I'll be at Studio 4 June 13th. I'm doing a set there. Tickets are on my Instagram at Zach Marms. I got a VFW show coming up next month, July 11th, I believe. And then I have a roast on July 13th of the wonderful Envy Sim, who hosted my birthday party. And you briefly met, I believe, Scott.
When I said, what are you up to? I didn't necessarily mean plug yourself at all. I wanted you to get extremely personal if you could. No, I'm just messing around.
I'm going through a divorce right now. That
doesn't like me. And then we just get into a positive episode on Poughkeepsie Tapes. No, I'm glad. Last time we mentioned you were a comedian, but we didn't drop any, we didn't plug any time or anything. So that's cool. And I'll try to, you send me those details and I'll put it in the, episode notes and such and your IG and stuff. I'll tag him in all the promos for this. So you guys will get sick of seeing his face as well. But the reception from our episode was good. We had a fun movie that we talked about, so it was just funny to.
Let's talk about the most unfun movie now.
Yeah, that's why I called you back, because I was talking to some friends in the podcast world that I went, by like even on accident, I kind of stuck to the slow burn, not gory, not a lot of people dead movies. Yeah. And then I all of a sudden just felt Poughkeepsie Tapes, and I don't know what it was really that made me jump to it. It's usually like I'm kind of trying to make these episodes as we go. Like some people do 10 episodes and release them one a week, and but they had them all in bulk. I'm kind of producing it live. That way I can it's kind of real time what I'm watching. So I don't really know what got me back into it. I kind of had a nostalgic feeling. The weather was cold last week, and I first watched this movie last fall. So I kind of had this like, let me get back into one that I love, because this in the movie world, you could hit dud after dud after dud, and you got to get something to kind of get you back on track.
Yeah. Would you say this is one of the big ones? The big ones on the checklist?
Yeah, it's a love it or hate it, which in
Yeah,
my what I'm learning is that means it's one of the big ones.
yeah,
So Blair Witch, it's a love it or hate it. As Above, So Below, a love it or hate it. Paranormal Activities, a love it or hate it. So because it's a love it or hate it, I'll put it in that category. But if there was a class right below, you know how like people go like Michael, this is going to cause debate. Michael Jordan's 1A and LeBron is 1B, but
yeah.
they're both like GOAT. If there was a level B of like the you should know this if you're a found footage person, Poughkeepsie Tapes is in that level. If you were doing like the pyramid,
I got you. Yeah,
I don't know if it would be in that Blair Witch pinnacle top,
right.
but it might be in that look at what this genre can give you
Right.
category. This is great. Before we get into fun facts, I kind of want you to lead the part where, because you're the one that hit the nail on the head with this last night when you said you didn't realize how much was implied.
Yeah, because like I mean, so I'm sure your listeners will know, but like this movie has like a significant reputation behind it as like one of the most brutal, unsettling movies. And then like you kind of watch it and it is unsettling, but I think it's unsettling because of what it doesn't show you. I like all good found footage, I guess, what it doesn't show you rather than what it does show you. Like almost all the violence in this movie is implied. Is there any blood? There is blood at the one point, but like there's only that one scene where he stabs that girl in the neck and then she suffocates. That's the only blood I can remember. It's not a very gory movie at all.
The other blood that I know of is early on. It's right when the detective goes to what he was to say. 2 out of 3 of you are going to quit tonight, and then he shows one of the videos. It's after the little kid video, the infamous the first one he shows, where
Yeah.
the girl's kind of sitting there with a stabbed stomach, and
Oh,
she's like, "Oh," and
yeah.
I don't know that. I don't think that's Cheryl. I could be mixing up like the
Yeah,
initial Cheryl things,
yeah,
but there's someone sitting there with like a stab. It could be the people from the car.
yeah.
Like
I
it
think you're
could be
right.
like him finishing the girl because I think he quote unquote finishes the guy right away,
Yeah,
and then he kind of has the girl for a time, which is it was kind of cool because the cop was showing how he was like learning how to get better, and the
right.
little kid was like this wrong place, wrong time, and he was going to do that to anybody who was near. But you hit the nail on the head saying it was implied, and I do wonder. I have 2 questions about that. Do you think if they showed more, it would have cut into too much of the funding, therefore shortening the movie? It was already like an hour and 15 or hour and 20.
Yeah,
It would have shortened the movie, and you would have been like, okay, this dude brutally killed like 3 people, because that's what they would have kind of showed, and left it for interpretation for the rest. Or part 2 of that is, do you think you and I are so desensitized that we've seen such gory stuff
yeah.
that we go, this one's not hitting the gore factor?
That's like an interesting question because like I wonder if they would have shown most of the violence like in explicit detail, like if they would have went to like Terrifier levels of like gore and everything, I think it would have broke the immersion of like you're watching these discovered tapes a little bit. Because like the way the tapes are presented is like this is sloppy, this is a guy recording his killings and like it's very uncoordinated a little bit. So it's yeah, all that stuff would be and you know you're not if you're actually killing people on tape you're not going to have the perfect shot every time, right? So it's not going to capture all the violence and all that unless you set it up like he does in a few of the scenes, like when he's crawling up to the girl or all that other stuff. Yeah, I think it would have broke the immersion a little bit and it would have became like, oh, this is a movie and it's a little silly.
Do you think, and I love that because the gore for me wasn't, obviously it's not what scares me because it wasn't there.
Yeah,
Um the dude was playing a psychological game the whole time.
right,
He kept Cheryl just to mess with her and
right,
just to go, look at what I can do to somebody and look
right,
what I can do to her family. He shows
right,
up to Cheryl's mom's house and just like says hi. and like
Yeah.
makes sure she knows it's him.
Yeah.
He waits there until she acknowledges that it's him. So the dude's playing a game that I'm like, holy crap, there's no rule that he lives by other
Right.
than in his mind he is God. Like he
Right.
runs everything.
Well, and so to bring up one of the things that I saw like online is because like you said, this is a love it or hate it movie, and I think a lot of the people that hate it, they describe it as like a frustrating experience because you're never really given a motivation for this person or like why they are the way they are. But I actually really enjoyed that aspect of it because like with a lot of serial killers, sometimes there isn't a reason. Some people are just born bad, and they're gonna do this evil shit to people, and it's gonna affect the world in that way. You know what I mean?
An important person to me when I started my career teaching said, rational people will always try to rationalize.
Right.
Rational people should never try to rationalize an irrational person.
Yeah.
It's just not, that's actually irrational. It's like you're joining them. So even in the beginning when the cops are talking, I guess it's like a class. I think he's teaching. He's like a lecturer.
Yeah, that was
Like a retired cop. He's like showing future detectives and they're crying and they're crying at things that initially made me kind of chuckle because it wasn't even that bad at first. And the cop goes, that was nothing. He was like trying to get them to quit.
I wish it would have like during that scene, I wish it would have cut to him like him doing like his hobby, one of his hobbies. And then he's like, "Oh, that's for something else, folks. But hey, book me if you need me, huh?"
So wait a minute. You think you wish one of the Poughkeepsie tapes cut to cut? So he like, used a VHS tape.
Yeah, like it completely breaks the
bird, and he's building a birdhouse.
Also, or like he's doing stand up and the Jerry Seinfeld theme comes in. Like, with this blood, everyone.
And he leaves it on long enough for them to be worried. Like he's like, "Whoops, shouldn't have done that," but he's smiling at them and and it's, oh man. I try to give every movie the benefit of the doubt with the acting, especially found footage, because they even said John Erick Dowdle openly said he was actively looking for quote unquote no name people to be in the movie so we would think it's more real.
Yeah.
With that comes some lower level acting. So some of the crying, some of the pouting about the family. Again, I've never lost a family member to a serial killer, knock on wood. So I don't know how I would act, but I imagine I wouldn't be a good actor in that moment either.
What's interesting about that is like, so I listen to a couple crime podcasts as a lot of people. Yeah. As a single white male, I listen to a lot of crime podcasts. No, a lot of the times people will talk about like if there's like any kind of like question around if somebody did a murder or any kind of crime, people always overanalyze the reaction of said person, and it's like, well, you don't really know how you'd react in that situation until you're put into it. A lot of people might act muted or this or that and then kind of give themselves like away as like, and then you can come across as guilty as fuck, but like doesn't necessarily mean you did it. But I gotta be honest, the acting took me out of it a little bit. It was a little, especially the serial killer. The first time I saw him in his theater mask, I was like, oh, come on. Like it's unsettling, but like the nose is so long on that mask.
Do you think, I thought this too, and we brought it up right before we recorded. Okay, so I'm trying to watch it with like a early 2000s brain.
Yeah.
Like okay, so like Creep is not out yet.
Right.
Paranormal Activity is not out yet, but that doesn't really line. But still, so found footage is kind of hit that rut where Blair Witch happened. And then found footage is just like dud. And then you go, this one came and someone was willing to give it $500,000. And it's tough because watching it back, I go, man, after when you watch The Pinnacle, I try to not be like, well, then this one where everyone's giving it so much love, it needs to be perfect. But
Yeah.
then you also have to like keep in mind that nothing can be perfect. You had a good point on how you would act. Think about not killers, but even like how many funerals you've been to in
Yeah.
your life where there's people joking around and stuff because
Yeah.
they don't know how to act.
Yeah.
There's people crying, there's people laughing, there's people fighting. Everyone's acting different, and that's the same it would be if you were a cop that finds a dead body. If you were the big one for me that got me out of it a little bit was the line that the cop said. Because we found the body in the kitchen. His intestines were out and they were strung up like Christmas lights. No cop would actively say that to a
Right.
documentary or a news station. They would say we found him and it was horrific, but
Right.
they would not say what it looked like. And that kind of goes with what you said, that they had to paint the picture,
Yeah.
whether it be budget or time or whatever.
Yeah.
This dude apparently killed like into the hundreds. So we're supposed to assume he's killed like 50 to 100 people or something like that.
Mhm.
So they're obviously not going to show all of them.
Yeah, and so I think the acting in that, given all that, it does work twofold. It works for the movie and it works against it because like they do kind of feel more like real people, but at some point it just, you're like, oh, that was a little rough. That really broke me out.
We as found footage fans, we know
Yeah.
this in the found footage community, give every found footage movie the grain of salt it needs for the acting. We know it. But however, there's a little, what's it called, the asterisk or whatever, there's a
Yeah.
little star next to this statement. When you know the budget is at least $500,000 and you know the names on it and you know the movies that they made before and after this one, you have a certain expectation, whether that's fair or not.
Yeah.
I'm sure he loves having that expectation. That means he has success. So if you have a high expectation, that means at some point in your life you were very successful. So when you know As Above, So Below is on his list and Quarantine is on Erick Dowdle's list,
Yeah.
or John Erick Dowdle's list. Actually, it's like the Dowdle brothers, which apparently they've done a ton. But
There's two of them?
there's a couple of the brothers, yeah, the Dowdles. But the biggest one that's kind of surprising to me, kind of based off what we said too, with the lack of gore,
Yeah.
it was a very delayed release.
Yeah.
Supposed, supposed to be 2007,
Mhm.
suddenly pulled with no obvious reasons. They did 2009. They did video on demand 2014.
Mhm.
Some places later, some countries have banned it. Whether that be they just need to relook at what the movie is and probably unban it, because some of those countries have Cannibal Holocaust free for the taking, and then Poughkeepsie Tapes banned. So there's things that people need to. My perception of it, I love this movie, and my perception of it, going back into rewatching it, is that it was extremely gory.
Yeah, but it's almost like Jaws. Like, do you remember? You think you see Jaws a lot
Yeah.
or even like Beetlejuice, like the movie Beetlejuice. I think Beetlejuice only has, if I remember, it's something like 11 minutes.
It's something crazy. I just watched it. We watched the original this past like October, my boys, and even they said at a very young age, "Where is he?"
Yeah.
Where I go, he's coming, and
Yeah.
I get that anticipation. You go, the Blair Witch. We never meet the witch, and
Yeah.
it works because of that.
Yeah.
One of my faves, Blackwell Ghost. We really don't meet the Blackwell Ghost. We see things happen and stuff, but I think what the more we could, our brain is our best friend and our worst enemy. So we know that all too well personally. So it's like this type of movie works because we're going, this average dude is just finding whoever and killing them, and we're not given anything.
to go off your point, did you read more into about like the delayed release of it and everything?
Other than I read that it started it did run in a festival in
Right.
2007 and then
Do you
got
have the
released.
name? Do you have the name of that festival?
I do
Because you're
not.
the I got it right here. It was the Butt Numathon Festival.
That was say it. Let me jot that one down. But just for nothing personal. But jug.
Butt Numathon.
Oh, even worse. But numathon.
Yeah.
I said butt jug.
Yeah. Apparently the studio sent it to this festival and they presented it as a real movie. Yeah, rather than and they forbid the directors of like doing an interview like to clarify everything. So like and it had a horrible reaction because people thought they were literally watching a real documentary about like a horrible serial killer's crimes. So then like based upon that reaction they pulled the release and then it never got released until like really 2014, like a wide release for it. So I just think that's wild to want to present this as a real movie.
I mean, we've seen that approach with Blair Witch, Cannibal Holocaust. Even I just said it with Blackwell Ghost.
Yeah.
That we've seen that approach of like this is real with kind of always a little wink, wink.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not Blair. I don't think Blair Witch gave us much of the wink, wink.
I think they tried.
Would you think? I would say so. I think the wink wink might be this is in a movie theater.
Right, yeah.
We're showing the public. You know,
right.
like we're not just giving it to the cops. The fact that it's in a movie theater is the wink wink. I felt the same. Paranormal Activity tried that. Like watch this. This is from a home video. The fact that it was in a theater made it a wink wink. And you know, because I think isn't it true that I don't know this for fact, but can't any movie or show say this is based on true event? Like this is loosely based on true, because it doesn't take much to say this is kind of based off true.
Yeah,
event.
well, it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think never.
No, I know. Yeah, don't they say is that real? Is that real?
No, they say it's based off of like the original one says it was based off of true events, but it was based
Don't do it to me because I'm naive and gullible.
Leatherface, that was my grandfather.
And you spent a lot of time in Texas, young man.
I did, yeah. I lived there for a little bit. There was a lot of leathery people down there,
and there was a lot of
there's a lot of
legal action going on with you, and that's why you're up in Pittsburgh.
Well, when they talk about the right to bear arms in Texas, it's actually just chainsaws. Nobody owns a gun in that state. It's all chainsaws.
That's why the comedy mothership is down there. I'm trying to tie comedy back with Texas, back with chainsaws, bow and arrow, Joe Rogan, hashtag liquid IV. So yeah, if you kept then more power to them if they went, because all they would have to say to get it fully out there is this is fake.
Yeah,
wasn't As Above So Below.
That was
2012, 2013.
I think so. Yeah, somewhere around there, right? Yeah.
But Quarantine would be like 2007, 2008. So this dude struck gold.
Yeah.
In between. This dude struck gold. The Dowdle brothers would have struck, had a bit of success with Quarantine prior then to this.
Yeah.
And that means that's cool because that means this would be like icing on the cake.
I feel like this had to be filmed before Quarantine, though.
I bet you it was. Bet you it was. But as far as like theatrical release, wide release, I think Quarantine became famous before.
Yeah.
This one, because this one, you're right. Probably like the 2014, those early,
well, and it was
video on demand or whatever.
Yeah, it was released on video on demand on 2014, and then it didn't get released on home media until 2017, which is when it was like widely available.
I just met somebody, actually, the fellows that We Found a Tape they heard we were doing this episode and showed me that he has it on Blu-ray,
the original,
which is cool.
Yeah,
which is cool because digital or physical media is not a thing people are often running out to buy a movie. I don't even think I have a DVD or Blu-ray player, that's hard
No,
to admit, but I
you
really
do.
don't.
You have a PlayStation, don't you?
No, and you know that. If for people just listening, Zach is hanging his head. He knows that I'm in the market for a PlayStation and I haven't pulled the trigger yet on buying one, and he's sad now. And he's hanging his head. I will give this movie the props on this because I always love this. It's on Prime, Tubi, Shudder. I think for a time it was on YouTube. For a movie that's having even relative success, to stay free on Tubi shows a level of class from the owners of the movie to go see if you like this one and then go out and rent As Above, So Below.
Right.
Go out and rent Quarantine, because I believe both of those are not free streaming right now, but have been time free streaming. So the owners of the movie, whether it be the director or the production company now, do a real good job letting this movie be available, because sometimes a found footage movie is lost in the shuffle. So we've had two that you and I've talked about that have been pretty easily accessible. That was Loch Ness was on Tubi as well, I believe.
I believe so. And it's been there for a long time. So yeah.
Tubi just got a huge, within the past month, a found footage like overload.
Really?
So yeah, found footage people listening will know this. You got to shuffle through a lot right now.
Yeah.
You're going to look at like 50 titles that all say like Ghost of Elm Street, Ghost of Wacky Street, Ghost of Crazy Street, Ghost of, and you're like, what? But what's crazy is one of those would be good. One of those is good. So you have to watch. It's like, I'm just weird. But you said it last episode. Even if it's like rough, you're gonna give it its due.
There's always something to find enjoyable in most of these found footage movies.
I think if it's like under 90 minutes, come on. I mess around on my phone for an hour before bed playing games. I can give someone's art an hour, I think, if I'm going to do it anyways. How many times have you done, I don't know if Candy Crush is even like something like that, you're messing on your phone and all of a sudden it's an hour,
What was the one on Facebook that all the moms got? It was the farming one.
Oh yeah. Farmville?
Yeah, it's like I gotta harvest my crops on Farmville. I'm gonna
go back to like 06, 07.
Yeah.
Jetman. Tell me you remember Jetman on Facebook.
Was that the left or right one?
You use the mouse,
right?
And you're holding it in. He's flying, and he can't hit the walls. It's before what's it called, like Flappy Bird, or what's it called, the Flappy
Angry Bird.
We're showing our age, man. Me going, you remember the Farmville? We used to harvest our crops.
I remember the killer in Poughkeepsie. I was the Wall Street butcher.
I've been to Poughkeepsie many times. These were all orange groves.
I killed many a hooker in Poughkeepsie.
I've killed a man in Poughkeepsie. No one even looked twice. What? I don't want to give away the ending because it's a really cool addition to the movie. Yeah. We can say like the fact that he keeps Cheryl is pretty badass. Like that's pretty cool that he goes, not only is this dude going to kill 100 people, he's going to keep one.
I kept waiting for the missing tape thing to come back around. I don't understand why I introduced that. I guess it makes it more real, but I was a little upset it didn't come back around at all. Like in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because
when I read, whether it be just like an article or Wikipedia or something, I was looking at something about like, it was like weirdness about the movie. They said they added the different elements of filming, like the sometimes grainy, sometimes real nice looking, sometimes like chaotic, sometimes really prepared. They did that to always make the viewer feel like, what is he doing?
Right.
I wonder if that going, hey, there's also missing tapes. There's also like if that's also making us feel uneasy that there's even more. There's like things we don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like the I think too, it's ultimately showing and not ending to Cheryl's story, which ultimately we see. So it's almost like a poetic, like you think everything's okay now, but wait, there's more. Like
Yeah.
one of those type of deals, and it's really good, and it really shows this dude was never about gore. He was
No,
always about
yeah.
control. He was
That's what I'm
about
saying. Like, but it made it more real to me, and it made it more unsettling. The fact that you don't see any of this, and most of it is implied. Like, it's always the mind is always going to be your greatest like inventor for these kind of things. It's always better to tell rather than show. I think so.
Would you come with me to Poughkeepsie if I booked us a Airbnb?
Yeah, 100%.
I think fall would be beautiful.
Do you think we could book a couple hookers?
Well, what we say? What the couple that he first kills is from Pittsburgh,
Oh,
so
that's right.
it's
They are,
350 miles. So that's not
right.
bad. You and me
Oh.
hop in a car to Poughkeepsie.
That's a day trip. Who knows? I'm sure my wife is gonna love this episode. I started it out by saying like where I'm getting a divorce and my wife doesn't like me. I keep talking about like hookers.
Before we end? How is she? Like my wife would never watch Poughkeepsie Tapes. She would watch Loch Ness. She would never watch Poughkeepsie Tapes. How about your wife?
Tiff would watch this. She 100% watch. She likes. There was a period like we watched Cannibal Holocaust together, and she was very upset by that movie. But then it kind of triggered her to want to watch more like legendarily fucked up movies or like things that had like a reputation behind them. So this would have been right up her alley. If she would have watched it, she was out of town this week, and I know she would have watched it with me. I might rewatch it with her because I want to see if my appreciation grows for it upon rewatch. And I told you last night, and I think I do. I highly agree with this. This is a 6 out. So I read it on Reddit. This is a 6 out of 10 movie, but it's an 8 out of 10 found footage movie.
I love that you said that last night because it kind of connects. Don't you think if we were going, I'm a math teacher, so my math brain is going, the pyramid I'm talking about, the 8 out of 10 found footages would be in that second realm.
Right.
The 10 out of, if we're going by twos, right?
Yeah.
The 10 out of 10s would be the Blair Witch. Those like genre changing things. I think Poughkeepsie Tapes started the rally for the Dowdle brothers because as above, so below, many would put in that 10 out of 10. So I'm not huge on the rankings, but as far as like where I can physically see where it lands on my personal scale to go, I can't comfortably be like it's in like the top 3, but I can tell you it's in the 10. It's somewhere in the 10. I don't know where. In any given moment, it could be number 2 or it could be like number 9. It just depends on what I want in the given time. Do I want a funny one? Do I want someone that makes me think? That one is in the category of it's just fucked from the start.
Yeah.
They're documenting a serial killer. You're not going to leave it going, wow, that really the characters really developed. No, it's the demise of many, many, many people.
Well, and I brought it up to you last night, and I'll reiterate it. This is a much better version of August Underground, like that series of films. Like that one, August Underground does dip heavy. I've only seen one of them. But the one that I saw, it does dip heavier into the gore and showing you the explicit details of these fucked up people doing these fucked up things to other people. And it kind of, not that Poughkeepsie was an enjoyable watch, given its content, but like it was a movie I could rewatch and I could have like my appreciation grow for it over time. I would never want to watch August Underground again. Like, based upon like what it shows you. Like it just I don't need that anymore in my life.
I would say that too. It fits a hole needed in the genre.
Right.
As August Underground needed to fit the hole in the genre.
Yeah,
So it's like you and I just talked about that. Remember how what we like Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off bats and stuff like that? So badass that he did it. I'm glad someone's out there doing that for their art.
yeah,
That's not my art.
yeah,
It's badass that the dudes at August Underground did what they did and went, look at how crazy art can be.
yeah.
And I've also watched Sandman, which I brought up in a like as a like what I watched lately portion. And Sandman can get its own episode one day, but I appreciate that movie so much because although it's a mockumentary, they interview the folks from August Underground and the girls in the movie and
Yeah.
how the girls were actually treated nice the entire time and
Yeah.
treated with care and respect. It's like and that everything they did they like asked for. Like it's like this wild thing where you go, oh, this is kind of nice.
Yeah. When I said that like August Underground wasn't something I would ever want to watch.
Oh, I know. I know.
Like,
I totally get what you like one
that's
and
the
done.
highest compliment I can
Right.
Yeah.
I feel the same about Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
One and done, but that's you still appreciate that you're not at all saying you wish it wasn't made. You're saying, who? Not my cup of tea. You August Underground is there, and the dudes that did it, I'm telling you, who are Pittsburgh dudes, would appreciate the fact that you're saying, you guys found my threshold.
Yeah, this was it.
You guys found it. You guys found the line. Because I don't think anybody really knows their line. We assume our lines.
Yeah.
My last guest, Jackie, went, I can't watch a single horror film. And then throughout the episode went, I actually love Bigfoot and love aliens and love I go, then don't say the sentence I can't watch horror films because you clearly can. You just haven't found your spot yet. So you and I, we're going to try August Underground and then kind of work our way back, which it's kind of like for us. Then we go, okay, Poughkeepsie Tapes. It's not as brutal as we think because we've seen one.
And it's so funny to say that because it's like he does commit horrific, brutal acts.
They start with a kid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Like the first one they show you is the kid, but again, it's all off camera, and then you're kind of like, "Wait, what just happened?" And then
because I have that scene in my head right now. I have that sweet, and you asked me, and I hate to say this, you know that kids are my threshold. I was like, it didn't bug me that much. I don't know if it was the acting, or it was the off camera, or it was the knowing how cool and how much I like this movie, like knowing what's coming next. That I was like, yeah, this girl needs to get it. I didn't, but in my head, I'm going, just kind of knowing. I was like mentally prepared this time.
You were cheering when he killed the 2 Girl Scouts.
No, well, and you know what? I hope you laughed. I know you well enough to know that you probably laughed, or at least in your head chuckled if you're watching alone, where he goes, "Hi, you want to say hi?" And she goes, "No," and she goes, "No, I can't talk to strangers." And he went, "You're probably taught not to be rude either." You were probably, well, it's like, yeah, you know what? She is being kind of a little bitch.
Yeah, for as unenjoyable as a lot of like the things that happen in the movie are, that got a legit chuckle out of me.
Another chuckle might be when he goes to Cheryl's mom, when she goes, I know it's like horrific that he's there, and oh, it can't be, no way, and he goes, he does like a laugh like that.
It's very like you can see him twirl his mustache off camera, and be like, "You'll never catch me, Spider-Man!" And he runs away.
And then they cut to her, and she goes, "I was just scared." And I go, "Well, yeah, no shit, but you literally just went, no way," and then stopped.
Like, I'll never forget that face.
And he's walking like you wouldn't lose him. You would.
I would love if it cut to like the police sketch of him, and he looked like those old timey villains with the curly mustache and the top hat that ties.
Curly mustache, top hat, and while he's even there, he's wearing the mask. With the, he never does it. It turns out it's just his face.
The mustache curls around the mask.
We never get a real good look at him.
No.
You get subtle looks at him. if he takes off the mask and his nose is just that big, and we go, okay, I get it. Yeah, I would be killing people too. If he has a Gru like the Despicable Me, and you're like, yeah, he's supposed to be killing people. Yeah, he wouldn't be a guy you would just see publicly walking around.
That'd be funny if like it goes back to that scene with the little girl and she's like, "Whoa, what's wrong with your nose?"
And he was just saying hi. Yeah. But it did break him. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. He was like, I'm sick of getting bullied. And you're like, well, you know what? She was kind of rude. Well, Zach, this has been awesome. I love this episode. I love this movie. You know, I keep throwing it in my top. I'm keeping it in the 5, man. It's in my top 5, bro. It is. Yeah. I love it. It slips sometimes into that 5 to 10, but who cares? It's still there.
Yeah, and like I said, like, I like the movie. I think the reputation behind it hurt it a little bit for me upon first watch. I would like to I'm going to watch it a couple more times, and I'm going to see if my appreciation for it grows. It is a very well-made found footage movie.
Let's just say it publicly. We've seen worse.
Yeah.
We've seen worse. And the runtime is beautiful. I will always praise a movie for fitting it in like an hour 20.
Yeah. Filmmakers, 80 minutes to 90 minutes, I love so much. Like,
if it's 2 hours, I'm okay with 2 hours if it's gold.
Yeah.
Do you know like my threshold, and you might be like this too, I literally get butterflies in my stomach when I find out that I'm loving a movie and I pause it and I see an insane amount of time left. I go like, ooh, it's not like 10 minutes left. I hate it when I love a show and I pause it and there's like, oh man, it's ending. There's like 6 minutes.
I've had both reactions to it where I'm like, oh, sweet, there's like a whole nother hour left. I can't wait to see where this goes. And then I've also had like, there's another hour of this left.
Like, how could they possibly?
I'm like, we're done. This is over.
Zach, we are currently describing our episode right now. Yeah. So you're like, well, we can't go past the rule of dark movies with friends. I made it in episode 2 is the episode can never be longer than the movie's runtime. So this cannot be longer than an hour 20. All right, dude. Thanks. Right. Thanks for hanging.
We'll see you around.
That is it for this week's episode, guys. Many thanks to Zach for coming on and talking Poughkeepsie Tapes with me. It's definitely in my top 5, top 10 movies for found footage. It should be a staple in the found footage community. I believe it is. And if you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. Make sure to follow Zach if you want to check out his comedy and when he has shows. I appreciate you guys. Let's go find some footage. Peace.